to be a worker, to be a zombie, to be a robot, to make somebody else money. But the real tools, the really valuable, priceless tools, like learning how to regulate the nervous system, praying, meditating, coming back to yourself, connecting with nature. I don't think that kids around 4, 5, 6 years old, like now kids are starting school at 3 years old, 4 years old, pre-kindergarten. We don't even need kindergarten. Just like go out and play, go out and get dirty, like get a scar, like break a finger. Like it teaches you something. It's like battle wounds. You can learn a lot more from being in nature than a school when you're 5 years old. What are you going to teach them really? Like what can you teach me that nature can't teach me, that's beyond more powerful than what a teacher thinks is what's best for you? And that's always something that stood out to me. I've been to so many schools, and I was always the new guy. I never felt welcome until I started to play sports, and then it's like, oh, he's good at this. But it's because you're doing something that makes other people feel good. You're the entertainment. You become like the entertainment for somebody else's distraction of themselves. And like, yeah, sports is amazing. It's fun, but then you get to at least for me, you get to a certain point where it's just like, oh, I'm distracted from myself, from putting all my focus on a ball. I'm really good with this ball. I can put it in the hoop. I can hit a home run, but do I even know myself? Or let's just keep doing this because I keep making money. And speaking of making money, in my life, I've seen people that are farmers, that clean up houses, that are extremely happy and humble, and they live a simple life. I've seen more happy people with what we would call nothing or very low to nothing. And then there's like millionaires that have so much, but they're miserable. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people that have so much are so, they suffer the most from anxiety, depression, worrying, and like the pills that they take to like, oh, I have ADHD. But ADHD is just, you have so much energy and don't know what to do with it. And they give you these drugs that make no sense, when it's just like, just learning how to breathe is an extremely powerful medicine that is free to you. But they won't teach you this in school though. But I'm sure that like people know of this, but they won't allow this in school because it'll get you to connect with yourself, into your higher self, and be more powerful. And I feel like they don't want that. So why do you think, you know, people that have so much suffer so much?
So I want to go back to the root of the problem, as you said. Like, you know, everything starts from the education, and once you understand that the system is designed to create good workers. Like, unfortunately, we are living on a prison slavery system. Like, taxation is slavery.
Pay to live in your own.
Yeah, it's the fine. Tax is the fine that you pay for being productive.
That's good.
So,
make me money, but I'm gonna tax you and pay you at the same time.
Yeah, like, you know, I realized this very soon when I noticed that, you know, like taxation is very high. Like if you think about some countries, like 40%, 50% of your salary, which is a lot if you think about it, compared to like old times, because old times was like, okay, you gave like 1/10 perhaps to the state and 1/10 to the church. And still 20% is a lot. Now we don't have to pay the church, we pay the state, but then, you know, 40, 50% of your income, it's a lot of money. And then that would be okay, in my opinion, if, let's say, it goes into infrastructure, education, so then you would get like, you know, free roads, like free transportation, free education,
free healthcare,
good healthcare, free, and then, okay, that money is being used for, you know, for the common good, right? Rather than being stolen or sent into areas where it's just your taxpayers' money is just really just funding wars and you know.
There's so much greed.
Yeah.
Even with electricity, like we already know, and I'm pretty sure so many people are waking up, electricity is really free. They're just putting a tax number on it because somebody wants to make money off of it, but it's self-sustaining. You don't need, like, it's not that much work.
Yeah, so basically, the system is designed to keep you like a slave, and then how you can achieve that is basically making you believe that you need to fight for survival. So there's this competition that starts from early age with the grades, and then you have to become the best to get a job, and then you have to like climb the career ladder and become more and more successful to get that kind of financial reward that's gonna make you happy, because we have been designed or like made to believe, like what you saw in the TV show when you were growing up, that who are happy, the rich people, the successful people are happy, because that's what you see on TV, the rich and beautiful. I think that was even in the rich people, this, and then it's sublimely plant the seeds that this is you want to do as well. So everybody is like trying to grind towards money and success, because right now I'm unhappy, and then the happiness is outside of myself, and then money, success, fame will give me the happiness I want, and then everybody is like grinding towards that, and it's very difficult or very few people reach like true success or like big financial independence in a way, because the system is designed that it's not easy to get rich by honest means, like very few people make it to that level. And so then most people never really realize that it's not the answer, so everybody's chasing, and then those people who actually reach that kind of financial freedom that they are yearning for, and then once they reach it, they realize that, oh my God, this kind of inner emptiness or dissatisfaction that was driving me towards this final goal is still there, even though I achieved the goal I wanted. I got I got the house, I got the promotion, I got the job, I got the money, I got the yacht, I got maybe private jet, and then still inside of me something is creating like deep or dissatisfaction. Like look at some of the big Hollywood stars, many of them become drug addicts or have addiction problems, and some of them even take their own lives. So it's kind of like confirms that money or fame is not the way to happiness. So it's not the ultimate answer, because if it was, then those people wouldn't throw it away. So what I learned from India as well, like you brought this up, like living with very simple people who had like literally nothing. Like their houses, like there's no furniture even. Like they kind of like sit on the floor, and then they cook on the floor, and yeah, for me it was shocking to see how people live on a regular basis, so to say, and then they were like happy, like full of joy, like no worries. And then like when I think back to my own like childhood, like Hungarians tend to have this kind of like pessimistic kind of mindset, and always finding problem to every solution, that kind of thing, and that kind of mentality, and like
I don't think that's just Hungarians.
Yeah, I mean it's very common elsewhere that people have a lot of things and they're still very unhappy. So then like on one hand there are these people who have like hardly anything to their name, and then on the other hand, like you have pretty much everything that you can or you really need to like make your life easy and comfortable, and then there's still a lot of like unhappiness and mental suffering. So like, okay, clearly money is not the end, but it's more like a means to an end, right? That's where the confusion happens, where we identify money as the final thing that we need to reach. No, it's good to have money, and I'm not saying like give up all your wealth. I like to have money, of course, like because it gives you a certain level of freedom, because you can do a lot of more things that what you wouldn't be able to do without money, because you have to pay for those things. But ultimately, if you think that money is going to make you happy, you are on the wrong path, because it's not. So it is just a means to an end. It can enhance your experience of who you are. It's basically, if you are unhappy with very little, then you're gonna be unhappy when you have a lot as well.
Yeah, it's if you search for happiness outside of yourself, whether it's money, cars, electronic, women, like then you'll never have enough because there's always more. There's always more money being made. Somebody has more money than you. There's always a brand new car that comes out every year, twice a year. Better houses, better this, better that. So, I feel like, and in my life too, like I got to a point where I had the cars, I had the things, and then I got to a point where it's like I don't even know what to buy anymore. Like, what's the point? Like, I'm still miserable. So that's what led me to come to Tulum and then like search for like happiness and my own love within myself and heal, because I knew this isn't it. Like, it's not in the material world. And then it comes back to like, okay, well then what's your definition of success? What's your definition of happiness? What's your definition of love? And then just knowing this and paying attention to this can really shape your perception and how you look at things. Because if you have the things and you're not happy, what was the point of that? Okay, you got to this place where you were able to see that. Great. Now what? And being in Tulum for me was a big eye opener, a big understanding what love really is. Because if love is contingent, if love is not unconditional, it's not love, it's something else. Love is unconditional and love is everywhere if you have the courage to feel it, because it's not for the weak. You really have to be strong in what you know and what you want to have the courage to feel love, because the duality of love is pain. And in this life, that's one of the laws. Everything has a duality here. Light, darkness, inhale, exhale, cold, hot, winter, summer, love, pain. Like, having the courage to feel it and being okay with the pain of it, because to feel love is priceless for me. Like, I feel like that's why I chose to be reborn in this life over and over again, and why I would choose to come back is just to get that small hint of what love feels like within myself first and foremost. Because if you don't love yourself, then what kind of love can you give? If you don't love yourself, then how will you know what love looks like to be able to receive it? And this is one of the biggest tests in my life, is learning to love myself so that I know how to love my family, my mother, my father better, and the women and my brothers like you, and just like accepting that I know nothing. And that because I know nothing, I am nothing, I'm also everything. But being open to learning from anything and everything is what creates a teacher in you. Because you get to a certain point where you've been a student. I've learned yoga, I've learned qigong, I've learned all of these things, but then you start to see like, okay, this is what I've been taught, but how can I make this my own practice? And that's when I slowly started to see how like, oh, okay, the teacher is already inside of me. There is no better teacher for you than you. But first, it's important to understand the teachings of somebody who's done the work, so that it begins to give you these keys, master keys, to unlock your own inner wisdom and your own humility, like to be patient with yourself and to like truly connect with yourself. In Tulum, there's a lot of spirituality and like woo-woo and plant medicine, and I feel like a lot of people, including myself, we get lost in like, oh, we have to heal, we have to heal. What's the difference between like the healing journey and like waking up and being enlightened, and why is it that like some people get stuck in one or the other?
I would say healing is part of the awakening, because awakening is a journey, it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process of, shedding different layers of yourself that based on perhaps untruth, and then we have those wounds, those traumas that we encounter throughout life, because everybody goes through something. Like they say, if you ever been rejected, then you can have a trauma, no? And then even as a kid, like, no, you can't have this. Like, then right there, that can be in a way traumatic. Like when people go back and doing, let's say, hypnosis or drink plant medicine, and then they remember that, oh, they were rejected for the first time, by their parents or by the caregivers, and even though it seems like a very small thing, like the most minuscule thing that you can imagine, but it still can have a very profound impact. And yeah, going through those things that affected you in a way that perhaps are not serving you, and uncovering those things, because if something affected you in a deep level and you didn't digest that event, then it's gonna keep coming up, because the way basically the subconscious mind works is it wants to release those events, like those feelings, that whatever that, maybe it's shame, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's unworthiness, whatever that might be, and the way to release is to feel it. So if you want to heal it, you need to feel it, and then how you feel it is to like bring it up again. So then the mind's going to create, or the subconscious mind begins to attract people into your life who can mirror the event back to you, so then you can be triggered, and that trigger can make you feel again the same way. And then instead of pushing it away or like suppressing it, you have to like face it and allow yourself to feel it. You sit with it, and then through that process, that healing, that release can happen, and you're no longer like being attached to that so-called emotion. So, but we can get kind of like hung up in this idea of, I'm not healed, I need more healing. So it's important to find the balance in that as well. So healing doesn't become like a mirage that you constantly keep chasing. And then, because healing is not the ultimate aim is to find an awakening, right? But then if you have these wounds, if you have these traumas, they can act like blocks on your way, so you have to like clear those blocks, so then you can continue your spiritual growth and evolution, and make peace with your path. And it doesn't mean that you need to forget those things, but you need to forgive. You need to forgive yourself, and then
forgive
the
yourself
other people, so then you can move forward without those baggages, right?
Yeah, one thing that I've seen on my healing journey and on my journey with plant medicine is that every time I feel like I'm at a breakthrough of feeling something and working through a trauma, my body shakes. It's like the vibration. And then slowly I started to develop like a perception, an idea of, okay, we have the power in our mind to make ourselves sick. We also have the power in our mind to heal ourselves. Just by feeling, right? Just like you just said, we have to feel to heal. But somewhere along the lines, we didn't have these tools. We didn't have this awareness of what is happening, because of school doesn't teach us this. Our parents probably didn't know either. And then because you had this trauma or this pain and you don't know, like for me personally, I always felt like my throat had a knot or my heart was like aching. And then it feels like it's an energy that, and instead of flowing through your body, it gets stuck, it gets stagnant, and it starts to like turn into like a rock. And I feel this is how like illnesses are formed, whether it's cancer, whatever it is. Like I was molested from 8 to 11, and then it turns out I had a hip issue that is related to that. And my grandfather had the same thing. So it's like generational and passed down. It's an energy that wants to be released. And maybe like my grandfather didn't have the tools, so he said, okay, you're the one that will feel this. You're the one that will help liberate not just you, but 7 generations back of what maybe went through this, or even your cousins that are going through this now, or your family member or friends, like just you having the courage to feel this and go through this, like, and expressing it, like now, it kind of gives people the okay, or like, oh man, like we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And we all have these things and we store them somewhere in our body. And now we have Chat GPT AI. Like, use this. Like, I have a pain, like my throat hurts. Like, yes, instead of going directly for the medicine right away, what kind of drug and pill can I take to make this go away? In other words, numb so you don't feel it. How can I, like, okay, what's the spiritual meaning or message of like my hip hurting, my throat being sore, this and that, whatever, and it'll tell you like, okay, well, throat, what are you not speaking? What are you, keeping to yourself, and all of these things. Like, there are ways to heal yourself without going straight into drugs and pills. Like, there's holistic medicine, there's herbs and remedies and all of these things. So yeah, since I got to Tulum, this has been a huge awakening that most pharmaceuticals, they don't heal you. They numb you so you don't feel. And it's the opposite of what you want. But is it even curing you? And if it's not curing you, why are you taking it? Like, there's so much of this. And it's simple things like honey is so powerful. Like, they have found honey in like tombs that are thousands of years old, and they're still like healthy, and you can eat it now. Like nature has the medicine for you. And being in nature, just grounding, being barefoot outside, it's like, I don't know the exact number, but if you're barefoot in nature, you get like 37 or 36% of Earth's energy. If you have shoes on that are rubber, which like 99% of them are, it's a barrier, and now it goes from 36 to like 0.8. Like, that's a huge difference. You're not connecting anymore. And it wasn't until I got here to Tulum where I started to see, like, here I barely wear shoes, so you feel it more. And then when I wear shoes, I feel different. Like, I'm not connected. Like, my energy isn't constantly flowing. There's a block. Just like internally, like when you don't know how to process something, it turns into that. You're not connected to yourself. You're not allowing the flow, so it builds up in parts of your body. But speaking of Tulum, you've been here in and out for like 4 years, and you're a big reason why I tried ayahuasca for the first time. Yes, I'm going to talk about it because it's a big part of my journey, and Ascension Journeys, which is your brand, which is amazing. You're doing incredible work to help people feel and come back to themselves and remember who they are, and like come back to love and truth, and get out of blame. It's like, it's just how you choose to see things. And I know one of the biggest misconceptions on plant medicine is that, oh, well, I'm going to do this and take mushrooms, take ayahuasca, take whatever, and I'll be healed. Like, no, that's not how it works. The plant is a sacred teacher, and at least in my eyes, it shows you what you need to see so that you can become the highest version that you've always been. It's like so you can do the work. Just like they say, like, the real ceremony starts right after you leave the ceremonial space. What brought you to Tulum? 1. 2, how did ayahuasca choose you as a facilitator? I know you're not a shaman, but you're a space holder and creator of spaces for people to heal, which is extremely powerful, and I commend you for it. I respect you. I love you. You're doing a work that is beyond, you cannot measure this. This is pure based out of love. Why else would you be doing this and like spending your time giving back to people and being of service? So my question to you is, how did ayahuasca call you? What lessons have you learned that Tulum has taught you? Because this place feels like Hogwarts, like it's a university for magic and wizards, and like to understand love and what healing really is and who you really are.
So first, I just want to go back to a little bit what you mentioned about healing and, conventional medicine. There is there is time when it's important to use whatever tools we have, and especially, you know, when we have like an emergency, then, you know, if you eat something that you are allergic to, and then you have an anaphylactic shock.
Yeah.
Anaphylactic shock, then you need to get some adrenaline. You know, you got the EpiPen, and then it's gonna save lives. So there's certainly, or when you have a wound or you cut yourself, you go to the doctors and they stitch you up, right? Or you break your arm, and then, you know, there is definitely a side of modern medicine that is very valuable and life-saving. I would say that's more of a
emergencies.
Yeah, like emergency kind of use. But like once you develop some kind of chronic illness, then the medicine usually is designed just to cure the problem. So it's not really designed to like alleviate it completely, because there is no money.
You mean numb?
Yeah, like it's numbing, or from the business perspective, like, you know, every cured customers or every cured patient is a lost customer, you know? So there's no like
no money,
no financial incentive in like curing people, because it's much financially rewarding if you just keep curing, or like keep treating, because like look at cancer, no? There's cancer treatment is very, very expensive. Cancer medication and how effective that is like very questionable. So, you know, it's very unhealthy for the body.
Chemo, that doesn't make any sense.
So there are definitely other ways of going about it, and see what is the underlying effect, because usually these conventional medications just like really trying to mask the symptoms and numb the pain, and they never really, you know, trying to solve the issue. So while going to plant medicine or alternative medicine, even herbs, then, you know, things that have almost zero or very little side effects and high level of effectiveness, you know, in terms of like curing, not just like treatment, then you realize that, you know, plants and herbs are available, and they're very effective, and then they're also very inexpensive as well. So that's why like herbs have been like demonized through like the pharmaceutical industry.
Government.
So because they are the competitors, no? And they're not just competitors, they are better, because, you know, they are nature's medicine.
Natural.
And then, you know, they can actually heal you without side effects, rather than just treat you and then you keep taking those pills, and then you end up perhaps developing another problem on top of that because of the side effects of the medication. So that's where kind of like plant medicine comes in, and for me, ayahuasca has been fascinating me since long time. I was always like a curious person, and got into psychedelics at an early age. Not like on a addictive kind of like uncontrolled kind of way, but it was
curious.
More like, yeah, curious, occasional kind of explorations into LSD and magic mushrooms, but more like recreational kind of ways of, you know, just having fun and like experimenting with the expansion of consciousness, which later on become more like intentional. Like, for example, with ayahuasca, you can start looking for ways that you haven't seen, or like look into your blind spots. Even though if you do a lot of like spiritual work and self-exploration, there is still like areas that you kind of like miss. So then ayahuasca can show you the aspect of yourself that you are unable to see, and you haven't been able to like encounter, even though if you're looking, for example. But most people don't even look to start with, and then it can show you the areas where you are misaligned, basically, because, you know, the way we treat each other or certain people, or the way we treat ourselves, and see the situations where we perhaps we're not right or we're completely wrong even though in our perception it was like, no, I had the higher hand and or the upper hand and whatever I say, it stands and it's my way or the highway. And then if you look it from a different angle, then you realize like, oh, maybe I wasn't 100% right or like I was completely wrong. But then you have to have this kind of shift in